I'm feeling the Monday blues right now.
I see you're in the office though. You look like you're ready to get it this Monday morning or this Monday afternoon.
Uh, you know what? At least I look like it because I am not.
I hear
Yeah,
you.
but happy belated Mother's Day to you.
Wow, thank you, Vin. I
Yeah, did
appreciate that.
did you do anything cool?
No, we just kept it chill. We got together with family and we cooked. We had my husband and my dad cooked a meal and we just chilled. We watched Harry Potter. Me and my kids are like almost to the end of the Harry Potter series, so squeezed
Nice.
one of those quick movie sessions in and just had a good time. So
Little low key stuff.
yeah, I mean, I feel like with Mother's Day too, like everything's so expensive. You want to go out to eat, everything's gone up by like 25%. And it's not even like it's that great, right? It's nothing
Yeah,
special. It's you're just paying a premium to be there in the restaurant with your mom on this certain day. And
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
What
My
about you?
mom.
How was your Mother's Day?
It was good. It's good. We went out to eat. It was expensive.
It is, yeah. Where'd you go?
We went to funny enough, Los Altos Grill.
Interesting. How was
Yeah,
that?
it was great. It's pretty delicious, but I mean, it was good, but it wasn't like anything like crazy
Yeah.
or special. But it's funny because I've never been there, but it's right across the street from Rainmaker.
Really?
Yeah,
I didn't
uh,
even know it ever existed there.
I didn't realize, but across the street from Rainmaker it's downtown Altos. Did you know that?
No, I did.
Those
Yeah.
like little strip of buildings that were kind of like it looks like little shops and restaurants and stuff.
Yeah.
If you go on the other side of that,
Huh.
it's basically like a little mini Los Gatos or like a downtown Mountain View. Yeah, I
Interesting.
didn't realize. I'm like, dude, we worked across the street, but I didn't realize all this was like right here.
Yeah.
In
Yeah.
any case, yeah,
Yeah, that's good. I'm sure your mom enjoyed it. As long as you go and the food, no matter what kind of food it is, it's good, then
yeah,
I feel like it's worth it. But nowadays I find like I have so many restaurants that I won't go to anymore because just the quality's not that great.
yeah. Well, and, my mom is a typical mom where she's like, "Oh, I could have made this better at home."
Yeah, that's like moms everywhere. That's like for like a third of the price. Like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So, anyways, but glad you had a good Mother's Day.
Yeah, it was good.
But yeah, so this episode we were talking about starter homes. Is that right?
Yeah, yeah. I think you and I had kind of bounced some ideas off of each other. And we were kind of coming up with the idea that like the whole term of what is a starter home, what the definition of a starter home is so different these days than I think what it was, way back when maybe a lot of our housing supply was being built, right? Like in the
Yeah,
1950s.
yeah,
Yeah.
totally. Yeah, I'm like, what's a starter home in the Bay
Yeah.
Area, at least?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like, what is it? It's like all of these different competing ideas of what a starter home is. And then all these other like platforms trying to tell us what a starter home is, right? Like whether
Yeah,
you're on social media or you're watching a blog or, you're reading national headlines and whatnot. It can be really confusing and also really do some damage when it comes to setting expectations about your first purchase, right?
yeah. What would you De what would you consider or define as a starter home?
So I consider a starter home just your entry point into real estate, right? Becoming a homeowner. I think that probably looks very different for everybody depending on what your situation is. But if we're being realistic here and we're kind of talking about that entry point buyer, right, who's trying to get in and then grow from there. I mean, it's something that's livable, but something that needs updates, right? Something that you'll probably want to make changes to as your ownership there realistically. And that could be in the form of a condo. It could be in the form of an extreme fixer if that's your thing, you feel you can take that on. And so I feel like it kind of could look different for everybody, but for most people here trying to get into home ownership, it looks not like what you see on Pinterest or on Instagram or on Zillow, for sure. What would you say, Vin?
I agree. I think, it's different for everybody. Basically, I think a starter home is a home that you don't see yourself living in for forever and that you're just gonna be there for the short term.
Mhm,
And it's crazy because in the Bay Area, because it varies, a starter home can be a condo or a
mhm.
fixer, like you said, or a starter home can be like a $1.5 million home in Santa Clara, but not in Sunnyvale,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
It's
Um,
true.
so it's different for everybody, but I think just talking it out and kinda going through different type of starter homes people get into, I feel like when we talk about starter homes too, like, people don't take into consideration the emotional aspect because, like we talked about, everyone is looking for a home, and when we say starter home, people still get this thing to kinda look for their forever home, like they're gonna stay there for a long time.
They really do. I mean, how many times have we heard or have you seen those memes, for example, online where it's like, "Oh, I'm scrolling at 2 AM looking at $2 million homes. I probably have no business here, but, I wouldn't buy this $2 million home because the pool's not, in the back towards the corner. It's more towards the, entry patio area." And so it's kind of laughable, right?
Yeah.
But I think that, I mean, social media has such an impact on how we live our lives, even to like the furthest degree. Some of us are on social media all the time, enjoy like to interact with it. Others of us have a business like us, and we have to be on these platforms because that is marketing for us, it's outreach, it's education to our clients. But there's a lot of damage that does come with constantly seeing all of these, homes that are beautiful neutral palette, right, Vin? Like you're just gonna walk in and, set your couch there and your TV and you're ready to go kind of deal, right? And you can start taking your lifestyle photos, your morning cup of coffee and the reality is that that's not necessarily what it is to go into a starter home here in Silicon Valley a lot of times, right? Especially when you're trying to
Yeah.
get creative and also be mindful of your budget.
Yeah, totally. Do you have any examples of clients on your end that is looking for their starter home and like things that they're thinking about, things that you typically advise them on, or like what myths or mistakes, or maybe even, things that people do right? Any past examples of that stick out from past clients?
Yeah, I mean, I think a big one is it's not just necessarily condition of the house, but its location. And location can have a big impact on value. So that is well warranted. But I mean, I've worked with clients too, because the average age of the homeowner, current, first time home buyer, current new homeowner has been older than it has been significantly in the past. So now you're talking about first time home buyers who are likely in their 30s, right? They may or may not have children and stuff like that, that if they do have a family, they are very location specific because they've started to put down roots, not necessarily in the form of home ownership, but their children are in these schools, they're involved in the community and whatnot. And so they are very intentional and specific about the location that they want, but they also recognize and like usually they're renting, correct? They're also very hyper aware of their landlord could decide to sell the house tomorrow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of people who have owned real estate for a long period of time here in Silicon Valley are very equity rich. Let's be really honest. That's the nest egg, right? And so when they're thinking about what they're going to do with the next part of their life, in consideration is here's the nest egg, is it time to cash out? And if you're renting, that can be really destabilizing for you, right?
Yeah.
And so I've had clients where they're like, "No, we really wanna be, like, in this specific city, right? This specific city for this reasons, the kids and everything like that," and we've kinda had to work through it because it's emotional. Like you said, it's an emotional journey. This is where they put down roots, and this is where they wanna be, but maybe because of their budget, it's just not realistic. Maybe we're getting beat constantly on pricing because it's just that competitive, right? And most of the times too, what's great is that I can, and this too, Van, we can come back and say, this is where pricing's falling. It's really up to you what you'd like to do. But if the client doesn't have the ability to go up, it doesn't necessarily mean anything, right? And you start to realize that and your clients start to realize that as they compete in these areas. And so now starting to look at other areas that meet that specific need and want. So maybe it's not that neighborhood, but maybe it's a neighborhood that's right next door. And they'll still get assigned to those particular schools because you know how our boundary lines are drawn here. I
Yeah.
mean, you have homes in West San Jose that are assigned to Cupertino schools, and you have homes in Santa Clara who are assigned to Cupertino schools. So that can be a sweet point for that type of buyer if they're already in those Cupertino schools where it's like they're not having to pay a Cupertino price point or price tag, but you're going to get the location you want and for the reasons you want. Right. And so that's what I've seen be something that people have to kind of work through and buyers have to be flexible about.
So what you're saying is that for a lot of beginner buyers looking for their starter home, sometimes location is tough to deal with, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So with that, if you are trying to buy in a particular area but noticing that prices continue to go up or competition is too high to open up the areas, is that right?
Right, exactly. To kind of look at be flexible in one way or condition. And I've worked with clients too who are really flexible on condition, but they really want a specific location. But they could be flexible on location if it checked all the right boxes. But in that situation, it was quite funny because I had these clients and I loved them so much. And they would go out and we would look at homes and they were totally ready to take on like a fixer, a total fixer. We saw some homes where I was like, oh goodness, like this is going to be a lot of work, you know? And I knew their time constraints, what their family dynamic looked like. And I knew as much as they wanted to be there, this probably was going to be a real challenge for them. And then especially when you're talking about a first time home buyer, if you don't have, if it's tough to get in financially already, going into a fixer could be even more destabilizing financially because now you got to start
Yeah.
putting money into the house, and you don't know what you don't know till you really start opening up walls, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's when you really know.
Where did those buyers ended up buying?
Oh, those buyers actually ended up buying in, Santa Clara, so they were ones that were really intent on, living in Cupertino. They had already lived there, they were renting, they had a fabulous situation worked out with some friends that they were renting from, but homeownership was on their list, and they wanted to have stability that came with that. So, it took us a little bit of time, and I talked to them about flexibility, maybe it looks like a townhouse if we're gonna stay here, right? And this is really something you guys wanna do. Or maybe it looks like a few blocks over, and now you have a Santa Clara address, but you're assigned to Cupertino schools, and so you have that security that your children aren't gonna be uprooted,
Yeah.
right? And so it ended up working out fabulous for them, but it's a process, I guess I should say, right? Don't you feel like that, Ben, when you work with clients?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's always a learning process. So originally they were looking in Cupertino and were they looking for a particular type of home?
Yeah, it was Cupertino. Honestly, these guys were so flexible because they understood how competitive that market was, that
Yeah.
they were willing to go into something that if it had the lot size, the walls, and everything like that, they'll figure out the interior, and they weren't
Yeah.
worried about it.
So they were dead set on single family homes.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, once we kinda walked through the numbers, they were like, "No, this is what we want, and we know why we want it," because I think for them, this is gonna be the forever, right? I
Okay.
mean, if you're talking about you're in your, mid 30s, you have family and everything, and you have children who are going to grow up in that community, and you're able to get a single family home. Now you start to weigh, like, okay, needs versus wants, right? I want to be here location wise, um, but maybe the need as to why I want to be here doesn't make as much sense as I thought it did. Maybe we can be a little more flexible, and it just worked out really beautiful for them.
Did they end up buying a single family home in Santa
They
Clara?
They did, yeah, they got a single family home that had basically been redone, a high-end interior. It was a very nice home. It was one of those homes you could move into, put your couch down, and, start living your life, but their compromise was location,
Yeah.
right? And so
Yeah.
it worked out for them because they prioritized that and, the interior, and it worked out for them.
I'm curious, how much did they buy that house for in Santa Clara? And what was the price range? Was it any different looking into Cupertino?
I think this was a few years ago. I think they paid about a little over 2.5, just a little bit over. But I mean, the house was beautiful. It was fully done, high end flip in the interior. Exterior was landscaped beautifully. And so we had been looking in Cupertino for a few years. I think I worked with them for about 2 years. And when Vin, when you're going into Cupertino and you look at, right? Okay, what's the budget range of the client? What's pricing doing? You kind of know at Cupertino, $2 million is a fixer. It's the entry point into the market, and it's probably going to sell for more. Like they're going to market it at 2 million, but it's going to go way over, right? And so
So for
that's what happened.
so for 2.5 in Santa Clara, what could they have gotten in Cupertino?
What could they have gotten in Cupertino? Well, they could have gotten something that was pretty dated, right, in the interior, something that probably had, original carpet, had something that had paint thrown on in the interior, right? Nothing miraculous, I guess I would say, in terms of the interior or anything like that. Very original condition. And even then, it could be a little difficult because you're talking about Cupertino, you have Apple, you have, you're getting a lot closer to the tech hub over there, depending on how the lot size is situated as well. That alone can be a huge draw,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
So there's many people that will say we just don't even care what the house looks like.
yeah.
We just want the lot because of where it's at. So yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, that's awesome. It's funny because we're talking like it's so much further, but Santa Clara is only like a few minutes down from Cupertino, right?
I mean, it's literally like you cross Lawrence Expressway, you cross the street, and boom,
Yeah.
there you go.
But if they weren't working with you, if they weren't keeping their minds open to alternatives, they wouldn't have found something that's move-in ready, that's still not so far away from the location they wanna be, and, like, was able to buy a pretty nice house, it sounds like.
Yeah, they definitely did. And I mean, that story is unique to them. I mean, for many others, right, Ben, I'm sure you've worked with clients and I have too. I mean, the starter home, it's a condo. It's a dated condo, right?
Yeah.
But,
Yeah. Well, that's why I say it goes in the Bay Area, that's how it goes, is like, there's so many different, archetypes of buyers where a starter home can be a condo or a $2.5 million house,
yeah.
you know? But I'm curious to know how you got them to open up their mind about Santa Clara, like, what was the process from them starting to wanna be in Cupertino because of the Cupertino schools and location and all of that, to all of a sudden, like, "Okay, we're cool with Santa Clara." Like, what was that process like?
It was a journey. That's what it was like. So, I mean, we worked together for a few years and they even took some time off too because it's that emotional component you were talking about, right, Ben? I mean, it does become emotionally difficult navigating the market and then you're talking about being a full-grown adult with, all the responsibilities, the kids, the sports and everything else in between. It can be quite intense. But, education is a huge part of it. A lot of times because these buyers are, they're first-time home buyers. They don't know what they don't know and we prep them up front pretty well, but a lot of it is experiencing it firsthand, right? And seeing, okay, we can tell you it's very competitive. We can tell you you're probably going to be competing. This is where pricing is going to go. But until you see it, it's different. It lands differently. It hits differently. And so we went through that process. We went through the process of looking at, okay, what if we did a townhouse instead? How do you guys feel with that? And I'm a big fan of I give you the information and I'm going to let you sit with it because it's not my job. It's not my job to convince you. This is a decision that you have to take ownership with. It's my job to empower you and give you that information so that way you can make a confident decision with what you want to do.
Yeah.
And so they did that. We did that whole process. They thought about it and they said, no, we just can't see ourselves going into a townhouse. We want to be in a single family home. It's like, okay, all right. And so I would also just kind of send them some homes that were on that little sliver, because it's a very specific area in Santa Clara. I mean, even if you're a buyer and you go on Zillow and you're trying to be like, okay, I have this piece of information that I know these are assigned to, there are certain homes assigned to Cupertino schools that aren't. And I'm talking about like the sliver varies by block. So you can have a block of houses that are assigned to Santa Clara schools and then a block of houses that are assigned to Cupertino schools.
Yeah.
That's how,
Is this
right?
off, like, San Tomas and Prune Ridge or something? Or,
This is
is like,
more
yeah.
So, Lawrence Expressway and Stevens Creek, a little pocket. Yeah, it's a little pocket, but I know where you're talking about too because they have a little sliver there as well. So I would just send them that and for an agent, it's very quick for us to go through and say, okay, we know exactly which houses based upon location we can send to them. And so I would send those to them. And I think with time, they just came to understand if this is something we're going to do, this is the route we should do we should go to be successful to do so.
How many offers or months did it take for them to realize that, "All right, we gotta open it up"?
Probably about 6 months, honestly. I mean, it's definitely yeah, it's something that took time,
Yeah,
right? And I don't like to rush people either. I know that there's buyers too I talk to sometimes and who have purchased and they say, "We felt really pressured,"
yeah.
right? "We felt we had to, pay this amount," and I never want anybody to walk away working with me saying, "I felt like she pressured me or they pressured me," right? Because that shouldn't be how this process unfolds, really.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense, and good on you. I think I remember this transaction, a couple years ago,
Yeah.
but no, I think it does a great job describing a typical life cycle or journey of a buyer who's buying their first home or their starter home and trying to learn what works for them combined with what's available to them
Yeah.
or like what reality is. And kind of like swallowing that pill and saying like, all right, this is what we can afford. This is the type of product that we can get,
Yeah.
and the sooner we can realize that, the sooner we're able to first not look at any more properties because I'm tired of home searching. It's never
Yeah.
a fun thing.
Yeah.
And the sooner you start building equity and stop losing money to paying rent or paying extra, as we know, the longer you wait, depending on where and what you're looking at, prices continue to just still go up.
Yeah, yeah, and I've heard a lot lately too, Vin, and you tell me I know you do you're on the property management side as well too, that rentals are getting increasingly difficult for people who are looking to rent. I mean, I've had a couple of friends who have told me, like, it's really rough. Like, home goes up for rent, and they get a ridiculous amount of applications, and they can't even respond to everybody.
You know what? I think that when I put a rental out for rent, I get more people at those rentals during the showing than like at normal open houses. It's crazy.
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's like open house on steroids, when I put a house on for rent.
Wow,
'Cause, I do it the same style as, selling a home because I can't do individual showings for rentals, it's just too many of them.
that would be very hectic, yeah.
So, I do open house style, and I tell everybody, "Hey, this is the time I'm gonna be there. If you're interested, come by and take a look." And it's like a madhouse the last few times I put a house out for rent. Uh
Really? And what do you get? Like, do you get feedback wise from those renters? Like, do they seem very like they've been looking for a while or
Yeah, I mean, because a lot of these renters, they are working in tech, and they're in these areas that we're talking about, the Santa Claras, the Cupertinos, the Sunnyvales, and I'm like, "You're making all this money, why don't you just buy?" Right?
Yeah.
But I think they have the opposite realization where they don't see the value of home ownership at the moment, meaning it's either way too expensive for them or they still want to keep it flexible. And some of these are
Mhm.
myths too, because it's what you tell yourself. Like, because for some people, it's
Yeah.
like, yeah, it's too expensive. And then you actually sit down with a lender and then you're like, oh, actually, I can afford this. Even though payment might be higher than the rental monthly payment, it's not so far off where I'm like it's only maybe a grand more to pay for a house
Mhm.
versus just paying rent
Mm.
for
Yeah.
some cases, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm dealing with a lot of those people where they don't realize, and maybe they do realize and they're correct, but yeah, a lot of renters just come in not knowing that they could afford.
Mhm.
And obviously the rental lifestyle is a little bit more flexible. So people are just like, maybe I can afford, but I'm not mentally there yet.
Mhm.
With that, I'm just gonna continue throwing away my money and renting.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think I've noticed too, like I've had a lot of conversations with buyers too. I think lifestyle is a big one right now too. Maybe they qualify on paper, right? But then they look at what that payment is going to be. So when I say qualify on paper is that they're able to get a mortgage, right? But once they see what that monthly payment is gonna be, there's sticker shock,
Yeah.
right? And then, like, a realization kinda like what you said, like, "Okay, I'm probably gonna have to downsize my lifestyle if I'm gonna take on this, purchasing a home and whatnot." And so,
Yeah, totally.
uh
No, I see that a lot, and it kind of reminds me of the other side to that, where I'll see buyers get a pre-approval and, they get qualified for a good amount of money.
Mhm.
But it is a really high payment, like you mentioned. It's like kind of like a payment shock.
Mhm.
But with that, they're still looking at homes in that price range when really, even though they qualify for that, doesn't mean you need to buy a house that costs that much, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, you can be qualified for $1 million with a $7,000 payment, but if that's gonna be too heavy, then open your eyes up and say, okay, I'll go for a house that's closer to 800,000
Yeah.
instead of 1 million. And especially in this market where all the listing agents price their home low, right?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden when you make an offer, you get countered and it's a lot higher. So with that, I always tell people too, like, you get qualified for a mill, but look at 900, look at 800, because
Yeah.
more than likely, if the house isn't sitting, it's gonna go higher.
Mhm.
And if you're already looking at the top of your budget, you're already kind of losing.
Yeah, you're not looking at it's deceptive, right? Because you feel like you're not looking at reality, when you're looking at pricing on Zillow or Redfin, but, I mean, it's word to the wise, all the prices that you see on Redfin, Zillow, I mean, they're marketing prices, right? So just one thing to be aware of, so
So with that, if someone's listening to our episode and saying, "All right, I learned from Vin and Julia that I need to set my expectations and come to reality and know that I need to be open to other areas." Should I just wait to buy?
well, that depends. What's our favorite word, Vin? That
Depends.
depends, right? And so you could definitely wait, but we know most people who say, "Let me wait," without actually understanding where their financial position is, the roadmap to buying, everything like that, usually don't ever buy.
Yeah.
So it's totally fine to wait as long as you understand where are you now. So have you talked to the lender, talked to the realtor? Have you looked at the payment, your lifestyle, your situation, and be like, nah, this really isn't going to work? Then yeah, maybe you should wait. But if you haven't done any of that and you're just sitting there like looking at prices and you're like, I should wait. Just know that many people who continue to utilize that strategy when thinking about buying a home, they just never buy a home.
Yeah.
Right, Vin?
No, you're right. You're right. I think our styles when working with clients are very similar where we're not the type to pressure you. I want everybody to always feel comfortable with this process and what they're seeing out there. But I have lately in the last couple of years started to realize that when I don't want to say push, but when I'm not a little bit more adamant or a little bit more serious or realistic with these clients and let them know
Mhm.
like what's going on, then they actually miss out. They actually do end up paying a lot more.
Mhm.
And I guess what I'm trying to say is that if we were to put a normal business practice of, being kind and being more like guiding.
Mhm.
I guess what I'm trying to say is, Julia, we gotta pick a side here. No more it depends because really
Vin's
people
crashing out.
people are missing out, right? Like, people are missing out because they have all these high expectations. They think, "Okay, I can qualify for $1 million. Then let's look at all these houses at $1 million, but we're getting bid out, and we're gonna continue to get bid out until someone actually tells us what the hell is really going on." And you are doing that, right? Like, you're telling them the different locations in different areas. But I guess what I'm just trying to say is like, what do you tell a buyer really when they are ready, when they've looked at the numbers and they're just sitting on the fence?
Well, like you said, if I'm going to pick a side, my side's always going to be, hey, I'm going to tell you what the landscape is, what the reality is. It's still going to be up to you. When I first start working with clients too, I let them know realistically, if you find a home you love, you're going to have to write a competitive offer, because if you don't write a competitive offer and we're just going to write something to see if something happens, then what happens is now listing agent is going to take our offer and use it to push pricing up. And guess what? Because location is so important and that is an important decision in in this purchase for you.
Yeah.
Now we're working against ourselves.
Yeah.
Well, that's that. We don't
Yes.
we write offers to win. Otherwise, we hang back and we wait and we look for an opportunity. Now, if you're talking about those clients who are just like, well, I don't know, like maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. I mean, at some point, there's a conversation that has to be had, right, Vin?
Yeah.
Like, hey, interest is, there's 100% interest on rent. So if you feel like you don't want to buy a house because I mean, you can afford it, you're fine, but maybe the interest rate is too high, you're having to pay a little bit extra. Well, what about your rent? What that's going to a month? You get
Yeah.
none of that back. Like you literally get none of that back,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
and you have no control. You have no control over your living situation.
Yeah.
That's your landlord. Your landlord has full control.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the conversations I have. Of course, everything has to be, right,
Right.
said in a way that they can hear you,
Right.
but, sometimes too, it's just not a good fit.
Yeah.
You start to recognize those clients too, right? I mean, when I was an agent um, earlier on in my career, because I always reflect, I'm always like, "Oh, I'm not the agent that I once was," right? Like, "Oh, man, if I only knew all this stuff way back then." And I'm like, I had a client, I really think that she just, liked to go look at houses. Like, and there's people like that. That's like a
Yeah.
hobby for them. Like, there's no real intention,
Yeah.
right? But they like, being taken out and being neat and then, looking at this. And it just, it becomes very apparent over time too, who's
Yeah.
going to be able or who wants to be in this process, who wanted to just kind of be educated. And that's okay too.
Yeah.
But, it's a hard question. I don't know, Vin, what line are you going to pick? I want to know right now. You drew the line for me. You better pick the side right now. What are you going to do?
Well, if we're talking about those type of clients who are waiting, then I say if I gotta pick a side, I say stop waiting. And it's kind of with a kicker. The kicker is kind of similar to you. We have a conversation, right? But it's always like the magic answers that I hear, and I'm always like, "What's the reason why you wanted to buy in the first place? Is it because you needed to buy because you're having a baby and you
Mhm.
needed that second room? Okay, then
Yeah,
don't wait, right?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
it because you're tired of paying rent and you're seeing that prices are continuing to go up? Okay, then don't wait.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, but if you're buying a house because you're seeing your friends buy houses and you feel like you should be buying a house, or you just feel like it's something that you need to do, then okay, then I said wait.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. Like there are those people, and then like I guess as I get older, I'm starting to just get more impatient. So look, I've seen this so many times, and I know
How
if
it is.
yeah, I know how it is, and if you really need the numbers are there because I've always been the type of like, I hate to be the bearer of bad news,
Yeah.
but prices are going up, and that's what it is. All right, and then I'll leave it at that. But nowadays, I'm like, dude, prices are going up. Are you gonna do anything about it? Okay, you're not. Then chill. But if you see this and you see what I'm seeing, then you should also be motivated. I wouldn't say I'm not trying to rush you or make you move faster, but I guess there's a type of urgency for those people who realize
Mhm.
versus the people who are like you were saying, like, I don't know, should I or should I not?
Yeah, yeah.
But in any case, I kind of want to go rapid fire with this stuff. So that was one. What do you say to the buyers who are like, should I wait for it to crash?
Well, I could get into, like, really specifics about those buyers who are like, we're gonna wait for the market to crash. There's gonna be a wave of foreclosures. There's just so much information out now too that is telling us exactly what the picture is with people who currently own, and like I said earlier, there's so much equity in these houses that the odds of them foreclosing, at least in our area, are extremely low. Seller would rather sell the house, cash out, go move to Arizona,
Yeah,
buy a compound, right, Vin, pay it
yeah,
off and, ride off into the sunset than let their house foreclose. It's just a completely different reality right now.
yeah, totally. Yeah. So with other buyers moving down the list who are trying to buy their starter home,
Well,
and
I wanna go next. I wanna do rapid fire to
yeah,
you
yeah,
because
yeah.
you
Go
do
ahead.
rapid fire to me. It's my turn.
Go ahead.
Rapid fire. Okay, good advice or like totally not something people should pay attention to. Never buy with an HOA.
Yeah.
What are your thought process? What's your thought on this, Vin?
So my gut reaction is no, don't buy a home with HOA.
Interesting.
Well, so, let me explain, because I'm like a regular consumer and I think, "Okay, if there's an HOA, that's just an extra fee that I'm paying to go to nothing," right?
Mhm. Mhm.
But if I'm one of these buyers who's looking for my starter home and I get the advice to say never buy a home with a HOA, then that's bad advice. I would say, okay, kick rocks, get away from me. So to make it confusing and confuse everybody, I really do feel like you should buy a home with an HOA. If this is your starter home, if you don't have any choices, but you need to buy still, buy a home with an HOA. And the biggest reason for that is if you this is your starter home, you ain't got no money to freaking pay for a roof or like paint or anything anyways.
Mhm.
So even though you don't have money to pay for all that, then why are you gonna buy a house where you're gonna be liable for all of that?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
an HOA doesn't sound nice, and maybe you're not gonna use the pool that the HOA has. But when something goes wrong, you're not paying the whole bill for that.
Mhm.
And for some people who are pre-qualified for a mill, wanting to look for a single family, but can't find any single family homes for a mill, which is very, very true right now.
Mhm.
Buy that condo with the HOA. Pay that $500 to $700 HOA, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, it doesn't sound pretty, but it's gonna one allow you to be in a house that's yours, so that way you can start building equity,
Yeah.
and you're gonna be protected from any type of exposure when the building needs some maintenance or some repairs and you're not paying for the whole bill yourself.
Yeah, that's true. So HOA is a lot of people think it's like, oh, a few $100 I gotta pay. Like that's garbage. What's that going to? Well, a lot of times it's going to the roof, right? The paint, exterior paint, landscaping, electricity for that nice little green belt that the community likes to go and walk on, right? Or take their dog to. And so that's another thing to kind of think about, right? Reframing of that HOA. Oh my gosh, it's awful. Well, honestly, you might pay somebody to landscape your house depending on what type of house you go into,
Yep, yep,
right? And
yep,
if it does have a pool and you need access to a pool, maybe you pay a gym membership.
yeah,
And so,
totally.
you're paying certain types of amenities that very well could be, a part of an HOA anyways. It's just
Yeah,
hard to swallow, I think, when it's presented as it's just a few $100. Why would you pay that a month? Go get a single family home. Well, the price point for a condo is also very different
yeah,
than a single family home.
totally. I totally agree. And just one more example on that too. Recently, I have a client looking at condos, so she's okay with paying HOA.
Mhm.
The type of condos she's looking at is like from old to new. And some of these older condos that have been established, some of them might have a lower HOA because a lot of times they might not raise it all the time. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
they might not be managing it properly. So whatever HOA fees they've been getting, maybe it goes up a little bit, but they didn't plan for it to go up because they have all these other stuff to take care of. And being an older community, they need to budget for that, right?
Yeah.
But basically, my client was looking at this older HOA condo building or building with an HOA,
Mhm.
and the HOA was really low. But there was all these little things that were coming up in expiration for maintenance. Like the maintenance was expiring for some of these items. So meaning like when some of these things were coming up, the HOA wouldn't have enough money in the bank.
Mhm.
So every time something like that happened, it would just be a special assessment,
Mhm.
$5,000 there or $10,000 there from everybody, and they'll be able to get it fixed.
Mhm.
But my client was, like, looking at a newer building where the HOA was almost double. So this one was, like, 700 versus the old one was, like, 300, basically.
Mhm. Mhm.
And, but that $700 building was newer. So my client was doing the math, and she was like, I really like this older community or older building because older buildings have certain, characteristics to them. Sometimes they could
Absolutely.
be larger as
The
well
floor
because
plans are
floor
larger, yeah,
plans are larger because newer they are building in a smaller footprint.
squeezing them all in to
Right.
maximize profit, yeah.
So, but my client was like, "But if I did the math, even though the HOA at the newer building is higher, it'll still be cheaper than buying this older condo that
Mhm.
is with the lower HOA because I'm gonna end up having to put out more money for maintenance anyways,
Yeah.
versus this newer building. It's a higher HOA, but everything's done for it and less likely for me to put out more money."
Mhm.
So, all that to say that, part of the starter home journey is knowing, like, when's the knowing or realizing that HOA isn't bad depending on your situation,
Right.
and then also finding out, like, what the HOA covers is just another thing. Like, there's a nuance to it.
Yeah, and there's a sweet spot, right? Then where the HOA, it can make a lot of sense
Yeah.
because it is going to support financially infrastructure within the community that you would have to be paying on a single family home too, not necessarily on a monthly basis, but definitely on a pretty standard basis based upon the major components in the house, right? And so, like you said, it's nuanced. There's a lot more to it, but it
Yeah.
definitely shouldn't be a blocker,
Right.
right? Before you understand all of that information.
Yeah.
'Cause you could
Like,
miss out. Could work out really well.
yeah, and next one on that note is if I was a buyer wanting to buy my first starter home, but I only have 10% or maybe even 5%, uh, should I still buy or wait?
You should definitely talk to a lender and a realtor. All avenues lead back to that. There's tons of different mortgage programs. One of the big blockers too, and it's kind of mind-boggling to me, that people seem to think you really need 20% down payment. And 20% down payment here can buy you a house in other places.
Well, let's say this,
Yeah.
if I know I wanna buy and lenders I've already talked to lenders and the lenders are saying, you qualify for a loan, but you need to have at least, 5 to 10% minimum.
Uh-huh.
Should you still buy?
Yeah, if you can and it works for your situation, absolutely. I mean, I'm talking about you're talking to somebody who went into their first it was a condo with 100% loan to value financing. So I'm going to say absolutely if it works out for you because it 100% worked out for us. So yes.
Nice.
Okay, so I got another one which is going to piggyback off that one.
Yeah.
So I want to know, Vin, I saw all these realtors on social media a few years ago talking about marry the house and date the rate. I wanna hear your thoughts on this one.
I hate realtors who say that.
It
I
was a
hate it.
big thing. It was
It
a
was
big
so
thing.
big, everyone was saying that, I'm like, "What does that mean? Marry the house, date the rate," kinda like, yes, the concept, if you're not familiar, listener, is that interest rates were really high at that time, and they're still relatively high depending on who you talk to. But
Mhm.
because of that, realtors were still telling people, "Just buy the house because the interest rate is going to change, right?
You could refinance later,
You can
right?
refinance later
Really
on."
lower your housing
But
payment.
how long ago was that, Julia? Do you remember?
Some of y'all been dating the rate for a while now. Okay, let's just say that. Some of y'all have been dating the rate for a while.
You've been in a relationship you don't want, and you're forced to date that person right now. That's how it is right now. So, buy when you want to, regardless of whatever rate that is. You just gotta know that, of course, the rate has a factor
Yeah.
because it tells you how much you can afford, that's for sure. But whatever the rate is, based on that, if you can still afford, then go for it. But know that the interest rate is the interest rate. It may not even change. It may stay that the same for a while, like how we are right now.
Yeah.
So I don't think that should be something that stops you, but knowing that you're buying regardless of whatever rate that is, and if that still works for you and you're still comfortable with it, then
Mhm.
yes, buy.
Yeah, yeah. Imma go with you on that one too, that you can, I don't I didn't like that whole movement only because, and I thought it was funny too when I heard it, the play on words, I'm not gonna lie. I really thought it was funny, but it just reframed something that is probably not an accurate perspective on how long you're gonna be you could
Yeah.
potentially be dealing with this rate because you sound date it. Oh, okay, well, cool, it's temporary. We don't know how long it's gonna last. We don't know what interest rates are doing. We know what you know in terms of the interest rate, right, on a national headline basis. But I mean, if you can buy, you're comfortable with the payment, go ahead, that makes sense for you to buy because you're only gonna just build your own equity. Think of it like a savings account, right? That you're just kind of paying into every month and you get some type of return as opposed to renting, you get nothing from there's no benefit to renting.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're on the same page with that because I didn't know if you were aligned with that or
You
not
didn't see
too.
my dance? I did my whole date the rate dance on TikTok and I was like doing all these pointings and I was doing like all this. You didn't see that, Ben?
No. And I'm glad I did it. I was just joking. But no, it's just adds to one of the reasons why people are concerned about working with realtors because it's like, oh, realtors just gonna tell me to buy no matter what.
I know. It's true. And I get it. I'm gonna empathize with people, like, I get it. I see certain things and I'm just like,
Yeah,
"Why?" Like,
yeah,
"Why?" Right?
yeah,
And so, like, I feel that struggle because I feel those feelings too when I see some of this stuff.
yeah, totally. But I think what I learned from this episode and talking to you is that emotions and realization are a huge thing,
Mhm.
meaning that buying a house is very emotional.
It is.
If you don't really realize your real buying potential and what you can afford, the type of stuff that you can afford, it's just gonna make it that much more emotional and it's gonna make you basically go crazy and not wanna go through this process anymore and miss out on buying a home. Take way longer to buy a home, which in all accounts, what we talked about, if you are ready and willing and able to buy a house, but the longer you wait, the worse it is off for you if you wait.
Yeah, the higher the prices are going.
Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and where I know we're getting to the end of this episode, and I'll just kind of leave these parting words is that, too, is like if you look at the San Francisco market right now, with everything that's happened with AI, that market has started to rebound significantly. And for how long then post COVID was the market, you know, it had taken a big hit.
yeah, yeah,
A lot of people had moved out, things were sitting longer, there was price reductions, and so no one has a crystal ball, like we said. I mean, who would have known, right? And so people who do own property over there have seen substantial gains in the past few months because of the advances in AI,
yeah, yeah.
right?
And the
So if
new
you're
mayor's
willing.
doing good stuff too. So
Yeah, that's true too. So if you're ready, able, and willing, it's definitely something you should consider. Otherwise, you'll pay more for it later. And
yeah,
if you're okay with that, you're okay with that. But,
yeah.
that's what it is.
Awesome. Well, I thought that was a good episode.
Yeah, I did think that was a good episode.
Yeah. Well, in that case, hopefully you guys learned something from this. And as always, we're always on social media. So hit us up if there's anything, but we'll catch you on the next one.
Yep, sounds good. See you guys on the next one.
See ya.
Bye.